Alright, so today we're going to be messing with motors. I'm waiting on some brake parts for the sedan, so in the meantime I figured might as well make one good motor. So this motor right here is the motor out of the sedan, which looks pretty hard up. Most things are pretty well beat, so I'm not really going to use this motor for much unless I need spare parts. This is the motor that came out of a convertible I parted a few months back, where I think the insides are pretty much locked up. So everything else on it looks good. I'm going to swap the wiring harness and everything over from this one to the good new motor, and hopefully figure out what's wrong with this motor and this motor so that I can either sell them or just junk them for spare metal, because it's taking up way too much room. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, so we got the oil pan off. Everything looks pretty old and gunky, but I think we figured out why the engine stopped running. I didn't actually think I would ever see one of these in real life. It looks like maybe it was over torqued and it stretched a little bit and the cog came off. I'm not really sure, but motor's fucked, pretty much. Well, I've decided I'm already pretty stupid. When hoisting this up, I guess I nicked off the connector for the coolant temperature on the back of the head. So that's definitely something I'm pulling off the other motor. Crap. In the meantime, I've decided I'm probably just going to completely undress this motor and label all the wiring while I'm at it so that I don't have to worry about it putting on in the next motor. Alright, so harness is off. I label everything with yellow electrical tape because I hate yellow and the labeling is only temporary. I left certain things attached, like the starter, because that's just going to pop back in. I think I even left the idle control valve on, but otherwise everything's labeled and pretty well organized. I tried to leave as much stuff on as possible. Makes it easier when you put everything back on. Figure I should probably explain the game plan a little bit. I don't know what's different between the 5 Series and the 3 Series, so I'm just swapping over anything that looks remotely different. Originally I was going to swap over the crossover pipe, but all of that seems to be pretty much the same between the two. But what's interesting is that even though I accidentally pulled it out, the coolant probe is a 2-prong on the 3 Series. It looks like a 4-prong on the 5 Series. Also, there's a slight difference in the oil pan where the bump out is much more pronounced on the 5 Series. It's basically non-existent in the 3 Series. But ironically enough, the oil dipstick tube seems pretty much the same between the two. So that's interesting that I guess maybe the 5 Series just has a little bit extra capacity. And I would look into probably using that, but I really don't think it'll fit, and I don't want to put the engine in just to pull it back out. I don't know. And I kind of want to see inside and replace the oil pan gasket and all that jazz. Alright, now here we get to play a game called I'm Going to Be Extremely Cheap. So I should probably pick up a new clutch, but I'm only planning on having this motor in for a year, and I kind of don't feel like spending the money on buying a new clutch just to only have it in for a year. The resale value is going to be terrible. So to start off, this is the clutch out of the convertible, which is I think 180,000 miles. It's pretty well hot spotted on the flywheel. It's actually not as good as I expected it to be. The pressure plate's kind of hot spotted too. The clutch disc shows a pretty good amount of wear. Still has some life left on it. It's not about to die. Might not put up the track abuse, but oh well. This, on the other hand, is the sedan's flywheel, and surprisingly, it's still, I mean, it has hot spots. So this is 160,000 miles. You kind of expect it to be pretty crappy. But of the crappy clutches, it's not nearly as hot spotted as I expected it to be. And the pressure plate still has grooves in it, I can thumbnail and feel the grooves. The thing is kind of odd. Maybe at one point the pressure plate was replaced. I'm not really sure. The clutch itself still shows about the same amount of wear as the other clutch. No real difference in that. So I'm not really sure why, but I think I'm going to take the sedan's clutch and pop that into the new motor. I might scuff it up with some Scotch-Brite or something on the flywheel just to give it a little bit more tooth, but I think I'm going to use this setup. Okay, so I pulled off as much as I'm going to pull off the old motor. Just kind of set it off in the corner. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and probably just dismantle this whole thing just for the sake of getting it out of the way so I have more space to work on stuff. What if I can stack it on top of the other motor? That sounds like fun, right? Oh wow. Looks like this one also had the same problem where the oil pump nut just decided it wanted to quit. Which, by the way, it's reverse threaded, so righty loosey. And that's basically what happened. So now 2 in a row, we have an oil pump failure. Alright, and with that I think we're going to end today. Apparently you can stack 2 motors on top of each other. I think I cracked the plastic oil filler cap on the other one, but at this point I don't really care all that much. So now I need to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with these 2 bunk thingies. And then figure out the rest of this crap. Put all that back together, but I think it's going to end it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.